Sup? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me we have some more RPG horror stories. I have to be honest, I'm not feeling fantastic, so we're gonna just cut the intro super short because I've tried doing so many takes and nothing comes out quick. My head feels foggy, so we're just gonna go ahead and just jump into the stories for today. My wife is the problem player. I love my wife dearly. I game with her for years and run as her DM for years. Mostly Pathfinder 3.5 and VTM. I never had this problem with her and I don't understand why that's happening now. I have a 5e module I'm running her and our friends through. My wife hates 5e. She could talk for days about how it's a terrible system, but she wanted to support my first time running the system, and so I let her make up a character. She's been playing with another group for about a year, so I thought maybe she'd soften up a bit. If you hate a specific system, and I'm not saying like you dislike it or you find flaws in it, but you hate this system to the point where you're gonna be just complaining about it the whole time, then maybe you shouldn't play it. Because like whenever you hate something, you're gonna get super emotional about it and putting a lot of negative feelings towards the system. Like, listen, I get it, 5e is not a perfect system. I like it, some people don't like it, and that's okay. Like what you like, dislike what you dislike. But the one thing I couldn't stand is like if I was playing with somebody that just not even disliked, but just absolutely disliked and despised the system, and they were playing with me and saying, God, this system sucks so much. It's like, dude, I'm not listening to this. Just leave or play. But if you're gonna be like hanging out with us and playing, like don't like, it's fine to have complaints, but not when we're mid-game. It's like if you want to watch a new anime and somebody's like, oh God, this anime is so overrated, but fine, I'll watch it with you anyway, but I hate it. And the whole entire time they're watching the anime, they go, God, it's so cliche. Oh, this is so bad. Oh, it's so terrible. It's like, dude, buddy, we're watching this thing and you're complaining about it the whole time. If you're gonna complain the whole time, don't watch it with us. Let us just watch it in peace. It's fine to have legitimate complaints about stuff and to voice your displeasure or dislike about a specific thing. But if you just gripe and gripe and gripe and gripe and complain and moan the whole time, it's just, I can't stand it. I literally can't stand it. I can't stand the kind of people that just moan about it without doing anything about it. Well, I thought the session 0 went well until my wife cornered me in the bathroom to tell me I was wrong. She didn't like how our friends were playing, and there was an item she felt entitled to because of her class, but nobody gave it to her. She didn't ask for it either. She just expected them to hand it over. Oh, I think I found the biggest problem. It's your wife. Not to say anything bad about your wife and stuff, but I don't know what it is, man. TTRPGs just bring out the worst out of people sometimes. Typically, it's like weird sex freaks, but you also have moments where it just brings out problem players out of it. If your wife just dislikes how the people play and dislikes that the special magic item wasn't given to her directly, actually, oh my God, I know somebody that is just like your wife. I know somebody that's exactly like your wife. They expect things to be done for them without even saying anything out loud, and if they don't like how someone is playing the game or don't like the way they're playing like the same as them, they just say, oh, I just like this player. I know somebody exactly like that, exactly like your wife. Your wife is a problem player, seriously. Well, I went to bed feeling pretty crappy. I felt a lot better though when I woke up to 27 text messages from our friends thanking me and telling me I did a great job. I showed them to her, but she didn't have much to say. Late that night, everyone had been chatting on Discord all day about the session, and I was feeling pretty great about myself as a DM, because they were all having fun with each other, except my wife. She had a minor argument with another player and then came into my office to ask me how I was handling a feature that player had. I told her and she complained that he was RPing things that mechanics wouldn't allow. I told her I knew that, but it was good flavor and just RP, so it just didn't really matter. She went on a tirade about how nobody else took the game seriously. One character was abrasive towards her. I told her, yeah, because he's abrasive to humans due to backstory reasons. So she swapped to another character and now they're too secretive. Again, I said they were RPing appropriately due to the backstory. So she got angry and moved on to the player she had an argument with. Said I shouldn't have allowed the race and class combo and that it didn't fit and was a problem. Nobody else had a problem with him, by the way. I told her he hadn't been an issue. And while it's a weird thing to play, I can work with it. She knows this about me. I allow almost anything so long as I can find a rule to justify it. I'm allowing a wizard to RP through figuring out formulas to create magic items for frick's sake. I just want everyone to have a good time. If you have a situation where the problem player is complaining about how it's everybody else's wrong, everybody else's fault, I understand the situations sometimes. There are exceptions where there is indeed a problem with the rest of the party and everybody else is kind of a crap player altogether. It's like a big hodgepodge, a big mixed bag of everything. But in this situation, it sounds like the problem player is just complaining about other players because she's finding flaws in all of them and not her own playstyle or her own character or what have you. Oh, this player is wrong and that player is wrong and this player shouldn't be playing this and you're giving leeway to that player and doing this with this player. But now we talk about how her flaws as a player is affecting the table in the slightest whatsoever. Lack of self-awareness entirely. OP, you're unfortunately in a situation where your problem player, your wife of all people, thinks that everybody else is the problem but her, and will continue to harp and bring him up as the problem because to her, she sees him as a problem. They're not other players or characters, the obstacles in her having her specific particular type of fun. She wants to have a particular type of fun and it's just, she's putting all the pressure on you for no reason. And I really hope at some point maybe you can get through to her or just find a way to calmly talk to her and say, hey, listen, I don't think this kind of game and these kind of players are for you. So I'm gonna have to unfortunately ask you to maybe not participate, or we can have a resolution where maybe you could stay if we just don't have any more problems and you stop seeing everybody else as a problem and start realizing that everybody's having fun and everybody's having a good time but you. So maybe the problem is you, honey. Is that inappropriate to say, honey? No, I think like couples and married couples will call each other that. So maybe, I don't know, whatever nickname you like to use, pumpkin, sugar bunch, whatever you want to use. She just went on and on about how they were all children and didn't play the game right, and they didn't accept her as a default party leader as they should. Then got up and gave me a flippin', oh, I didn't mean to crap on everything, and just left me nearly in tears. Oh my god, your wife is a main character problem player. Dude, your wife is literally a main player problem character. Wants to be the leader, wants everybody to play her way. If they're not playing her way, they're a problem. If they're not giving her the magic items, they're a problem. Everybody sucks but her. She is literally the main character problem player. Oh my god. Yeah, you gotta ask her to like step out. You just have to tell her. You have to tell her that everybody's having fun and enjoying themselves. You're not having fun. The problem is, this game is just not for you. Simple as that. And try to put it as lightly as possible. Obviously, there's not gonna be a way to avoid that. She's already wound up about the whole thing. But like, you gotta have to tell her. You're gonna have to break it to her saying, honey, this game is just not for you. Everybody else likes it, I like it, you don't like it, so clearly the problem is with this game and you just don't mesh. So that's where I'm at today. Told a player we're both close with about it and they're appalled. I think it'd be best if she left, but she doesn't want to and won't go. So I'm not sure where this attitude came from. And I don't know why she's being like this. Edit, update. I tried talking to her. I was worried something was going on and I didn't know about. She says it's not and doesn't understand why I'm upset with what she said and how she said it. And thinks I'm being ridiculous. So, it's not going well, guys. Weirdly enough, I know these kind of people, they don't see a problem in what they say because they think they're always right, and every single time whenever you find an issue what they're saying or how they're saying, oh, you're just being ridiculous. It's not about me. I didn't say anything rude or appalling or terrible in any way, sense or form. I didn't do anything. It's you the one finding reasons for being upset. You're the one that's finding reasons to take it this way. I didn't mean it that way. You're just taking it that way, and it's your fault for doing that. The kind of people that gaslight you into thinking that you're the one in the wrong and you're the crazy one, and you're taking crazy pills, have a big spat about it. I hope you can avoid a big spat about it. Show understanding. Show that, hey, listen, I get what you're saying, but I don't think this game is for you. Genuinely, I think it might be best for you if you're looking for the different kind of you're looking for a different kind of experience that I can provide and the rest of the players can provide. Clearly, you want to be a main character, and that's fine. But I'm just not going to give you that experience. I'm not going to give you that experience as a DM because I want to be fair to the other players. Everybody else is having fun. I'm having fun. You're not having fun. Clearly, this game is just not for you. Simple as that. Maybe there might be an understanding. Maybe she may rethink that. Maybe her approach is a little bit too rash and too harsh. Come into the conversation with understanding and care. Never accusatory. And try to be, well, I'm not going to say like walk on eggshells, but try to make sure that the conversation is about how the game and her vibes, they just don't match. It's not about her being a bad player, it's about how the vibes of the game and the player just don't match. And even if she tries to redirect the conversation, and I'm assuming she's gonna try to redirect the conversation, be like, it's all about you, because you are the problem here. All I can say is, good luck. That's all I can say. Let's get to the next story for today. My first one-shot as a DM. Compared to other stories on here, my experience isn't too dramatic, but still enough to be problematic. The problematic player in the question was honestly just an a-hole who was used to getting his way whenever he threw a hissy fit. He was used to being able to manipulate people around him with his crappy behavior, and unfortunately, I was no exception. But again, it's not that crazy of a story, so apologies if it's not interesting. I added an additional warning because alcohol is later mentioned. So a few months ago, I ran my very first campaign as a DM for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. It was homebrew and took me several months of preparation and planning to finally get it all together, which the players knew and were okay with. It was tough for me to come out of my shell enough to run a campaign, but the players encouraged me this entire time, telling me that they'd be happy to go along with the story and they would enjoy it no matter what. I wanted to start the first session as one shot because I wanted to see how I felt about DMing before fully committing to a campaign. The players were okay with this, but let me know that they would love to do a full campaign if I ended up being open to it. So I kept that in mind as I planned the session. I honestly wanted to make this into a full campaign and plan on leaving some hints about the larger story throughout the first one-shot session. As a player myself, I would love nothing more than just to be part of someone else's creation, part of being someone else's homebrew one-shot, campaign, what have you. It's fun being able to be as a player and just enjoy the journey and the story together, because it's somebody else who's putting together the time and creation. I just want to get myself immersed into it. It doesn't have to be like I'm not looking for a specific, like, perfect, like, incredible 10 out of 10, 5 stars on Yelp experiences. I just want to go on an adventure, on a journey, immerse myself into a character, into the world, and onto the outside world for a little bit. If it's like a virtual tabletop, be able to see the maps, get flavor text from the DM, really get myself into the lore. It really just embody the lore and just enjoy it to my best intent and stuff. I love this stuff, dude. I love immersing myself into universes that are just easy to get lost in. Dude, I think I have a craving for immersing myself into a really good game. Or a campaign or something. I don't know, man. We get into the first session after months of rigorous planning. Most of what I did was make sure the lore all lined up and made sense, and everything is going well at first. The player did character voices, which added to the immersion and awesomeness for me. I love to see him so invested in our characters. Well, that wouldn't last long, unfortunately. First of all, let me just say that I have no problem with drinking and or smoking while playing. But one of the players, we'll call him Frank, drank quite excessively to the point where he was not able to immerse himself or pay any attention to the story. It was beginning to feel a bit pointless for me to keep running the session, but everyone else still seemed interested, so I decided to keep going. Player Frank started causing a lot of in-game conflicts, accusing helpful NPCs of having harmful intentions to their faces, trying to pick fights with harmless NPCs who were trying to share important information, hogging the spotlight from the other players, etc., and kept steering the party off track. He would often interrupt the gameplay to the point where it took us almost 9 hours to get through this one very simple basic session. 9 hours for a session, first of all, big commitment for your players. Second of all, really crappy for Frank to do that. 9 hours to try to bog down a session for a simple thing. Good lord, what is going on with the guy? I did not make it complicated for the players, and since they were experienced, I expected us to be finished with 3 or maybe 4 hours. Due to Frank, it took us over 8. We were almost past the 8-hour mark by the time we finished. It was a sleepover, so I guess they weren't concerned about it, but it was extremely frustrating for me, as the DM, to have story I worked pretty hard on be constantly interrupted by Frank's drunken ramblings. After getting mildly frustrated, I asked Frank, who kept interrupting me while I was trying to explain and describe things, to please quiet down so that he would focus and finish. Bad idea. Frank took this very personally and got super quiet. I tried asking what was wrong, and he snapped at me, telling me to learn how to respect people's boundaries. That's Rachel Frank. That's constantly blabbering non-stop and interrupting and not respecting other people's boundaries by dragging out the session that was supposed to be 4 hours into it. 8 hours, Frank! What are you doing, Frank? Why? Why are you not respecting people's boundaries, Frank? I felt terrible when he said that, but did my best to just keep going forward with the game. At this point, I just wanted to finish the story, even just to give myself some sense of closure with it. For the rest of the game, Frank actively avoided speaking to me directly and made it very obvious that he was no longer invested. Whereas he was previously a hog in the spotlight, he did nothing to participate in the game until the BBEG fight at the end, and made it clear that he was passive-aggressive upset with me the entire time. During the fight, he pretty much didn't help the party fight at all, and instead focused all his energy on saving some random NPC character that was part of the encounter. For some reason, he was hell-bent on trying to make his character get with this NPC romantically, even though they had just met. And it simply didn't make sense given the situation. I had to keep re-killing her and made it verbally clear that she was unfortunately meant to die, but he got upset at me for this and started being pretty passive-aggressive, saying that I was fine if she died because the DM is God, but then he'd be disappointed at me if she did. So I relented and just let her live with 1 HP, which is going to derail the story quite a bit. The story was already derailed as it is because you kind of let Frank kind of stomp around and turn your game into a bit of his stomping ground. At times, if you have a problem player that just doesn't stop, you need to talk to them out of game. If that doesn't work, simply ask them to leave, especially if they have big disruption at the table. If you're unsure, you can always ask the other players, be like, hey guys, how are you okay with Frank drinking all the time and making disruptions? And I would tell you the most obvious thing. The other players will probably say things along the lines of, yeah, Frank is kind of slowing the game down. Yeah, he's kind of being a problem. Man, he stretched out a 2-hour session into 9 hours. That was a lot. Or better yet, cut Frank off from alcohol. Make a new rule, no alcohol at the table. Because if the problem is the alcohol, then make a rule of no alcohol at the table, because you want everybody to be sober and coherent when they're playing the game. Sometimes people's personality change whenever they drink. Like Frank maybe is fine, he's okay, he is perfectly normal and enjoyable to be around. But drunk Frank is a chaos freak, he's a maniac, he's a lunatic that takes everything personally unless nobody is telling him anything, and then he takes the spotlight and stretches sessions to 9 hours and beyond. Who knows? Maybe I should have been more flexible as a DM, but it was my first time. And I genuinely didn't think Frank would focus so extensively on trying to save this seemingly very random NPC, especially since he went out of his way to tell me several times that he'd always follow the directions of the story. With his passive-aggressive behavior at the table, I just wanted him to be satisfied so that tensions would simmer down between us. Yeah, the only way to do that is just talk to him directly and just ask him to simmer down, or why the problem is in the first place. Why is he so passive-aggressive? He's focusing on the NPC instead of the BBG, mainly because he wants to go against the grain, because he's upset, he's pouty and stuff. And listen, I get it. I've seen some drunks that are being really pouty. They get some passive-aggressive vibes, dude. I mean, I've seen some drunks get like straight up violent, but like some drunks that I know get super passive-aggressive and pouty like a baby. It's strange. People's personalities just change at a flip of a switch almost whenever they're drunk. And not all of them, but some of them. I just ramble a lot. I mean, I kind of ramble now, so I guess I'm no different. I'm just saying when I'm drunk or when I'm not drunk. I just talk a lot. Everyone finally kills the BBG, which was a tough fight. Now, it made him a bit too strong. My bad. But everyone made it out alive. The players told me that I ran a wonderful and interesting game, and even though they all seemed happy, I couldn't help but feel some nagging regret for having hosted it because of Frank. He had been so encouraging and claimed he was pretty much the most respectful player ever up until the actual game. It was upsetting and made me not want to DM again. It was a super upsetting night, and Frank went on to quite literally traumatize me later on the evening, I will not explain further, for a session that I poured my whole heart into preparing. That was an absolute crap run of it. This is the most dramatic story out there, but I wanted to share this experience. Mostly just try to get it off my chest. As a first-time DM, this is just a part of the many learning experiences you're gonna have. You're gonna have players that are problem players at the table, or disruption, or a nuisance. And whether it's Frank personally, or drunk Frank, you have to try to take it and resolve it as best you can. And listen, first time DMing about these sort of things, it's fine. It's okay to mess up. Nothing is wrong with failure or messing up when DMing or when things go bad. At the end of the day, your players had a really good time. And that's what matters. Well, except Frank. But Frank's opinion doesn't matter because he was trying to be a nuisance the whole time. But maybe it might be good to talk to Frank in the future and say, if I want to have a future session and you're going to be part of it, I would really prefer if you just didn't drink. Or maybe you tone down on things, or maybe you figure out the problems outside the game. And if it doesn't get resolved, just don't have Frank join in the first place. You know what Frank is going to be like, or drunk Frank, and you simply best way to do is just to keep the problem player out of game. Let everybody else enjoy the experience with you, DM. Every session that you handle and every session that you run is a learning experience. Take this as a learning experience for future sessions so that you can have an even better and easier time in the future. Simple as that. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.